beyond the box, the color paradox, intelligence, and the divine order. In our quest to understand the nature of intelligence and existence, we began with a simple yet profound observation. Green is made of yellow and blue, but it is not simply yellow or blue. This notion, the color paradox, captures the essence of how distinct elements can combine to form something entirely new, something that both reflects its origins and yet transcends them. It serves as a metaphor for the way various parts of creation interact and coalesce into a unified whole. The color paradox and the nature of synthesis. At its most basic, the color paradox reminds us that the synthesis of components does not result in a mere mixture. Rather, it creates a record of transformation. Yellow and blue are clearly distinguishable on their own, yet when they come together, they produce green, a hue that stands apart from its constituent colors. This idea challenges us to think beyond isolated components and to appreciate that new qualities emerge only when different aspects of reality interact. This synthesis is not only about color, it also serves as an analogy for understanding intelligence and existence. Consider that our ideas, like colors, are often categorized and measured by their individual characteristics. But as soon as we begin to examine how those ideas interact, we're forced to acknowledge that something more profound is at work, a unity that exceeds any single element in isolation. Rethinking intelligence, the rock versus the human. A natural extension of this thought comes when we ask, what is more intelligent, a rock or a human? The conventional answer might point clearly to humans with our capacity for abstract reasoning, creativity, and self-reflection. Yet this question invites us to consider the limits of our definitions. Intelligence is often measured according to human-designed criteria, privileging complexity and dynamic thought over simple existence. A rock, however, does not engage with the world through inquiry or innovation. It simply exists in harmony with the natural order. Its intelligence is embodied in its steadfast adherence to the laws of nature, a silent consistency that does not seek validation or understanding. In this way, the rock demonstrates a kind of wisdom that is untouched by the complications of human thought. It does not overcomplicate its role. Its contribution is its unchanging presence. When we set these two forms of existence side by side, it becomes clear that neither can be dismissed outright. The human mind, bustling with questions and possibilities, represents a drive to explore and understand, a dynamic quality that can lead to both insight and error. The rock, on the other hand, exemplifies stability and order. Each, in its own way, plays an essential part in the wider tapestry of creation. Embracing the limits of human frameworks. Modern paradigms, scientific, mathematical, philosophical, are all human constructs designed to parse reality into understandable segments. While these frameworks have proven invaluable for navigating the material world, they are inherently limited. By defining intelligence solely as the ability to think and reason in a quantifiable manner, we risk overlooking other forms of understanding and existence. Our human systems often box in the infinite, compressing reality into neat categories that are easier to handle mentally, yet which fail to capture the fullness of creation. In doing so, they inadvertently diminish aspects of the divine present in even the simplest entities. A rock's unwavering existence isn't a sign of inferiority. It is a reliable indicator of a deeper sustaining order that our complex systems often struggle to describe. The divine in every expression of creation. The exploration of intelligence, whether in the human mind or in the silent endurance of a rock, ultimately points us to a larger truth. Both express facets of the divine purpose. The human's capacity for innovation, questioning, and even error reflects a dynamic quality imbued by a creator who has granted us the spark of inquiry. The rock, with its quiet and enduring presence, testifies to a consistent, natural order, another way in which the divine manifests itself. These reflections do not call for ranking one mode of being as better than the other. Instead, they highlight that the way we define intelligence is limited by our own standards. When we recognize that every part of creation functions within a grander system that is beyond our complete understanding, we are led to appreciate that both complexity and simplicity contribute to a unified whole. Much like the relationship between yellow and blue producing green, or all colors together forming white, the distinct qualities of each entity coalesce in a complete portrait of reality. Synthesis and unity, from green to white. Consider the progression from green to white in terms of color theory. Green, as the product of yellow and blue, represents a synthesis of two distinct elements. When all colors combine, they create white, a symbol of universal inclusion and completeness. In this regard, while the human mind may explore and even disturb its surroundings with its constant striving for meaning, the rock remains a quiet, immutable part of that order. Together, these differing expressions form a coherent whole that transcends any single attribute. This unity is not a flattening of differences, but rather an acknowledgement that each part contributes uniquely to the collective. The richness of creation lies in its diversity, a diversity that, when brought together, points to a purpose greater than our limited constructs. It suggests that the ultimate truth, the all-encompassing reality, is something that respects and integrates every form of existence. Conclusion: a call to a broader understanding. In the end, the discussion about the rock and the human, the interplay of yellow and blue to yield green, and the coming together of all colors into white, converges on a single point. Our conventional measures of intelligence and existence are inherently limited by human understanding. These limitations compel us to recognize that every element of creation, whether it is the active questioning of a human or the consistent presence of a rock, carries within it the imprint of a sustaining, ordering force. This force, the divine presence of God, is not an abstract or distant idea. It is the very reason why differences can coexist, why complexity and simplicity together form a vibrant unity, and why our limited schemes of thought ultimately break down when faced with the fullness of reality. The call is not to choose between the rock and the human, or between yellow and blue, but to appreciate that both exist as integral expressions of a greater unifying purpose. By acknowledging the inherent value in every form of existence, we open ourselves up to a broader understanding, one that reaches beyond the confines of rigid frameworks and recognizes that all creation, in its myriad expressions, points ultimately to a single sustaining truth. We are therefore asked by this very supposition, the inherency of this reality, to humble ourselves before the very God that created us.